You know how you tell a difference between a northern fairy tale and a southern fairy tale? Northern fairy tales begin, once upon a time. Southern fairy tales begin, y'all ain't gonna believe this. So we come here each week and we have our 5 basic unity principles that we believe, that God is here, everywhere present, all powerful, and that you and I have that God source within us, that we communicate with God through prayer and meditation. That our thoughts have power, our words have power. And our 5th one is that if you believe all those, you need to put those in action in your life. And out of those 5 principles, this church has always, hopefully we've always operated that way. We've tried to always operate that out of that. And you know, like all organizations, there's time we maybe don't quite make the mark. But that's our guiding principles. And so we have come together as a community. And we've come up with a mission and a vision. And our mission is we're an inclusive community, consciously growing spiritually and expressing God in thought, word, and action. And our vision is centered in love. We celebrate a world that works for all. And out of that we have core values, and our core values are oneness, spirit-led, love, abundance, and transformation. And I was thinking about those as I was thinking about family, because that's really what we try to do when we meet with other people, is we try to become friends, acquaintances. We try to move that relationship away from being strangers. Do y'all remember the song, that Doors song? It has a quote in it, "People are strange when you're a stranger." And as I think about that, I thought about, how strange I thought Gerald's family was when I first met them. He's listening. And I know he thought my family was strange. I can own that. And I bet they thought I was pretty strange. And I thought about that when somebody comes in the door here, what do they think about us? Oh my gosh. Rick Warren, who wrote The Purpose-Driven Church, said that people who come into a church, a community, make a decision within the first 8 minutes of whether they're going to ever come back or not. Did you know that? Doesn't matter by the time I get up to speak there, they've already made that decision. And Unity Worldwide Ministries, in making surveys of churches, says that unity is not, well, let's put it this way. We have much to do to perfect the welcoming system. Because only 10% of the people that come into a Unity church as a visitor ever come back. Whew. And how is that? Would we not say that we're strange? Yes, we are. But wouldn't all of us say we're loving? Yes. I mean, we're a loving, inclusive community, aren't we? Yes. And what I know is that we are a loving community, and I realized as I was thinking about all these things, I had something happen to me last Sunday. At the end of the service, and by the end of after the service, and maybe after greeting people for 10 or 15 minutes, usually by that time, all of my peopleness is given out. I know you don't think it, but I'm an introvert. And so I always have to step out to speak to people. I have to step out to meet someone new because I'm not comfortable with it. And so there was a couple that came up to me at the very end. And then there was somebody that came up that I knew. And I can tell you that I had, you know how I had one toe in the relationship with those new people. Those important people that were here for the first time. I had one toe into that relationship. And I thought about that this week, and I've thought about it all week, which is why we're talking about this week, because I had to think about that all week. I had to think about how much more comfortable I was in turning and talking to someone that I know. And what I know is if it's true for me, it's got to be true for you, because I do know most of you. And I think I know that that's true. I see that you're more likely to talk to the person that's by you, the person you sit near. And so what I recognized is that I'm called to be more outgoing, and I'm called to do things outside of my comfort zone. Talk to those strange people. When those strange people have made that step to walk in here, which is a much scarier thing. So I wanted to invite all of you who come here all of the time to make that connection that we're comfortable here, but the other people who come that visit probably are not as comfortable as we are. And they may not feel that we are so loving because they haven't experienced it yet and they don't know us. I'd like to invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and think about a time that you went. You don't have to go into meditation. I want you to remember a time when you went into a place where you didn't know everybody. Maybe it was a church, maybe it was a party. Think of a time when you went in and you didn't know everybody. Think about how you felt. Were you excited? Did you feel trepidation? Did you feel any discomfort? Take a moment and imagine that if you were feeling uncomfortable, what someone else could have done that would have made you feel more welcome. And now I want you in the screen of your mind to think of a time when you went into some place that you felt really comfortable. A new place, you felt welcome. It was a joy to be there. And think about what it was that people did that made it easy for you to relax and to open up to this new experience. Now bring your attention back. As you come back, which kind of experience do we want our guests to have? We want them to have the second one, don't we? And what I recognized is that for our guests to have that second one, each one of us has to be a welcome angel. Each one of us has to step outside of our comfort zone, and as we meet someone that we haven't met before, ask them if you can take them back for coffee. If you see somebody come in alone, ask them if they'd like to sit with you. Invade your space. Maybe even go so far as ask them to go to lunch with you. See, I know that it takes reminding for us to do that. And there's a reason it's important. And it's important because you and I are here on this planet to be in relationship with each other. And some people do that a lot better than others. And some of us are not as socially graceful as others. And so we have to remember that we have to work at this together. Because the way we grow spiritually is through relationships. We have things in our life that we call button pushers. And what are those? People. We have to get in those situations where we meet someone who is different from us so that we can learn to have a new perspective. We have to get in the space where we have the opportunity to grow and stretch, to change our perspective, to learn to like someone that doesn't look like us, to learn to be with someone who's totally different. I love this quote from Mother Teresa. She said, "I never look at the masses as my responsibility. I look at the individual. I can only love one person at a time, just one. You get closer to Christ by becoming closer to one another. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me. So you begin. I picked up one person. Maybe if I didn't pick up that one person, I wouldn't have picked up 42,000. The same goes for you. The same thing in your family, the same thing in your church, your community. Just begin one. One person at a time, you and I get to know God. One person at a time, you and I get to grow. And so our invitation is to reach out and find that person that gives us that opportunity to know God and to be God. To know God in the other person's life, and for them to be able to see that reflection of God in you. There was a story that I read was about a man named Bill, and Bill went to a university, and it was his 4th year there, and he was socially awkward. He had unkempt hair. He didn't care about his clothing. He wore holey jeans, ragged t-shirt, and half the time he went barefooted. There was a church, a prominent church across the road from the university that wanted to have an outreach to students. And so one day, just as the minister was getting up to speak, Bill walks in the door and he starts coming up the aisle. And you could see the looks he was getting. And the further up the aisle he got, he realized there weren't any seats. And he just came and he sat down on the floor just right there. Everybody was collectively silent. Even the minister was a little bit, what am I supposed to do? And here comes an elderly man who was an usher who had on a 3-piece suit. He was one of the big givers in the church. And the minister thought, oh, he'll know how to handle it. And he walked, and this man slowly came up. He had a cane. Everybody was holding their breath. They didn't know what was he going to say. He got there and dropped his cane and slowly lowered himself down and said, let me worship with you. And the minister said, it doesn't matter what I say today. What matters is the sermon you just saw. And so I tell you that story because you and I have the opportunity in our lives to welcome people in. We have that opportunity here at church. We have that opportunity in our families. We have that opportunity in our jobs, in our workplace. This week, I'd like for you to think about what we've collectively said. We want to be a place of love and inclusivity. And think about how you have participated in that. And how you participate in life. Because those values aren't just important inside this room. That mission isn't carried out in this room. That vision of changing the world to a place that works for all doesn't happen in this room. It happens in here. It happens one person at a time. And I invite you to go out and find that one person. They might be sitting in front of you. They might be sitting beside you this morning. Have a great week.